Well, hello there. Welcome back to the Pacific War channel, where we cover the entire history of the Asia-Pacific War from 1937 all the way up to 1945, and all the major events that led up to it. In the last episode, we spoke about the anti-fengtian war. Feng Yuxian and his Kuomingchun forces betrayed Zhang Zhoulin and the Fengtian clique, starting the anti-fengtian war. Zhang Zhoulin lost the war, and now all of the warlords in northern China were weakened, opening up the door to Chiang Kai-Shek's Northern Expedition. Now please, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave some comments on this video. Let me know your thoughts on what you want to see in future episodes. But stating all of that, let's get on with the show. This is The Northern Expedition Begins. Hey everyone, I just want to let you know I now have a Patreon account where you can find exclusive Patreon episodes. Cool benefits like early access, Discord perks, getting to choose and vote on new content, and live hangouts with me. Please check out www.patreon.com/thepacificwarchannel for more details. During the chaos that was the anti-fengtian war, the nationalist government in the south was brewing a new war that would change China forever. The war effort weakened the southern defenses of Wu Peifu and Sun Chuanfang, leaving the door open for a northern expedition. The KMT and CCP had formed the first united front as an alliance against the various warlords trying to take control of China. When Dr. Sun Yat-sen died, this led to a power vacuum, to which Chiang Kai-Shek emerged victorious. However, a push was attempted by some of the communist sympathizers within the Nationalist Army, and this led Chiang Kai-Shek to declare martial law on March 20th of 1926. Then he ordered a bloodless purge of many communists within the Nationalist Army. However, Chiang Kai-Shek still required the backing of the USSR for the planned Northern Expedition, and thus he had to make a compromise. He only purged hardline right-wingers and allowed communists to operate within the KMT, but not at high-level positions. Stalin and the CCP were okay with this, but the coalition was certainly fragile. In 1926, Chiang Kai-Shek faced three major warlords hostile to his KMT government in Guangzhou. There was Wu Peifu's Zhili Clique controlling Hunan, Henan, and Hubei. There was Sun Chuanfang, who controlled Jiangxi, Anhui, Zhejiang, and Fujian. And lastly, there was still the most powerful warlord, Zhang Zhoulin, who held the Beiyang government, alongside Shandong province, parts of Zhili, and all of Manchuria. The initial strategy of the KMT was to hit the Zhili Clique, who were weakened after being at war with the Fengtian for so long. The strategy would be to first focus on the larger force of Wu Peifu while appeasing Sun Chuanfang and simply ignoring Zhang Zhoulin in the north. Chiang Kai-Shek got Sun Chuanfang to state privately to him he would remain neutral if the Nationalists decided to hit Wu Peifu, and the warlord controlling Hunan province agreed to allow quick passage through his domain to the Nationalists and would even join them if they defeated Wu Peifu. The Nationalists had an army of 100,000 men, within 8 corps, 65,000 rifles, of which 20,000 were obsolete in 1926. It was to be a military gamble. The Fengtian clique had just defeated the Kuomingchun, and they were stronger than ever. Now Wu Peifu's forces were still dealing with the battered Kuomingchun in the northwest, leaving the capital of Wuchang and its southern flanks exposed. The KMT quickly lashed out from their base in Guangdong to hit Hunan province, capturing Changsha by July the 11th. When the KMT began their war, the forces of Wu Peifu were still locked in battle with the Kuomingchun, along the Nankou Pass near Beijing. The Kuomingchun had been quasi-allies to the KMT, but at this point they knew it was in their best interest to simply join them. Sun Chuanfang's forces were battered from pushing the Fengtian north, and he chose not to act when he saw the KMT begin to march into Wu Peifu's territory. Zhang Zhoulin, however, was very distressed by the situation, and he offered assistance to Wu Peifu. But Wu Peifu refused it, fearing it was all a ploy to simply have the Fengtian swallow up all of his remaining territory, which in all honesty, it probably was the case. Chiang Kai-Shek held a military conference in Changsha on August the 11th, where he decided they would strike at Wu Peifu's stronghold of Wuchang, while bypassing Sun Chuanfang's stronghold of Nanchang. The idea was simple: take out Wu Peifu's capital before he had a chance to rush back south. Chiang Kai-Shek's NRA moved in two large groups, one going through Jiangxi towards Nanjing, and the other through Fujian. Wu Peifu's forces in the south were outnumbered. Their morale was horrible, leading upon waves of defeats and defections as the NRA forces moved quickly using railways. Wu Peifu managed to deploy units south of Wuchang by August, but his counterattacks were being shattered by the NRA's artillery. Chiang Kai-shek took the Yangtze port city of Yuezhou on August the 22nd, making Hunan completely under KMT dominance and opening the way to Wuchang via the Beijing-Guangzhou Railway. The NRA soon pushed Wu Peifu's men northward from the Yangtze region. In response, Wu Peifu's men broke dikes along the way to slow down the NRA's advance, but by August the 28th, Li Zongren, leading the NRA's 7th Army, seized Xianning, just 75 kilometers south of Wuchang. Wu Peifu himself made it to Wuchang in late August, gathering as much forces as he could to try and stage a defense around Huixunqiao Bridge. It was around Wuchang where the NRA first encountered soldiers of good caliber and garrison commanders who did not simply turn coat. On August the 29th, Wu Peifu led a counterattack against the NRA, but this compromised his defensive lines, and by noon of August the 30th, his forces were in full retreat back towards Wuchang. In just a few weeks of battle, Wu Peifu had lost 8,000 troops, with at least 5,000 surrendering over to the NRA. Meanwhile, the NRA was receiving enormous amounts of defectors, and more importantly, a ton of war materials. By September the 2nd, the NRA was beginning to encircle Wuchang, and a large number of Wu Peifu's forces began fleeing north to Henan province. Wu Peifu and his most loyal men would hold out in Wuchang for over a month. Wuchang was a walled city with ample defensive works and would hold out against several NRA attacks. But in his desperation, Wu Peifu began begging Sun Chuanfang for help. But Sun's armies would only mobilize late into August, and it gave the NRA plenty of time to reorganize and prepare for them. The remainder of Wu Peifu's army would disintegrate in the following months, as Wu Peifu had lost face completely. With Wu Peifu's fortress of Wuchang holding firm, the NRA decided to hit nearby places like Hanyang, easily occupying it by September the 6th. However, while the NRA loosened their grip somewhat on Wuchang, Wu Peifu managed to escape with many of his men going north. Chiang Kai-shek then decided to turn his gaze upon Jiangxi province, where Sun Chuanfang had been mobilizing his army to help Wu Peifu. Chiang Kai-shek stole the initiative and he attacked Sun Chuanfang before he could do the same. On September the 4th, even while Wuchang was still being besieged, the NRA began invading Jiangxi province. Sun's troops recovered from the offensive, and the war raged back and forth across Jiangxi province. By September the 19th, the NRA, aided by local sympathizers, captured Jiangxi's capital city of Nanchang. This was largely thanks to the defection of one of Sun's generals, General Lai Shihuang. Over 20,000 NRA and 40,000 of Sun's forces died in the initial onslaught. Despite seizing the capital, Sun had retreated to Nanjing and rallied troops to reconquer his lost territories. By October the 10th, Wu Peifu's remaining forces at Wuchang surrendered, and with that the NRA controlled all of Hubei province. This was all soon met with another large defection. Sun's subordinate warlord of Zhejiang province, Xia Chao. Xia Chao was fed up with Sun's treatment of Zhejiang, and on October the 16th he joined the KMT and declared Zhejiang independent. Chiang Kai-shek was a native of Zhejiang province, and he had managed to sweet-talk Xia Chao over. Xia Chao launched an attack on Shanghai, prompting Sun to crash down hard with his armies upon Zhejiang. By October the 23rd, Sun's forces had crushed Xia Chao, and he had the traitor executed along many of his troops, and thousands of civilians were massacred. Despite Sun successfully quelling the Zhejiang problem, the diversion of his forces allowed the NRA to push across the Yangtze to firmly retake Nanchang, and then they seized Fujian. With Wu Peifu beaten fleeing north, Sun had no one else to turn to for help, other than his enemy, Zhang Zolin.
Jim is my enemy, but it turns out that Jim is also his own worst enemy. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So Jim is actually my friend.
Sun fled to Tianjin to meet with the warlord of Shandong province, his bitter rival, the dog-meat general Zhang Zongcheng, and Zhang Zolin of Manchuria. They both agreed to help Sun, deeming the NRA a threat, but they also demanded he pay them for the help. Zhang Zuolin announced the creation of the National Pacification Army, the NPA, calling for all the other warlords to contribute forces to resist the Red Disease coming from the south. The NPA would begin as a coalition of over 500,000 men, a formidable force. 60,000 troops from Shandong marched into Sun's territory of Anhui by November the 24th, with Zhang Zuolin as commander-in-chief and Zhang Zongchang and Sun Chuanfang as deputy commanders. Zhejiang was soon given autonomous status by the Guangzhou government, and in response, Sun rallied his troops along the Zhejiang border with the NPA protecting his rear. Sun then charged into Zhejiang, reclaiming most of his province. By January the 10th, the Zhejiang Nationalist allies were withdrawing to Quzhou. As Sun retook his territory, he unleashed brutality upon the populace, killing civilians suspected of being in league with the KMT, and displaying severed heads on spikes in public places. The coalition was extremely unpopular with the populace of Sun's controlled territories, and treated as invaders. To aid their Zhejiang allies, the NRA general He Yingqin led the NRA's First Army to march across Guangdong's borders into Fujian, where he and his troops were welcomed by the local populace. The plan was quite simple. He Yingqin was trying to get between Sun's advancing forces, moving up the coast to the capital of Fuzhou. This led to even more of Sun's troops defecting to the NRA. By late October, Sun's troops were retreating from Fujian and Jiangxi, and by early November, the NRA had captured the Yangtze ports of Jiaojiang, Hukao, and they retook Nanchang. By early December, Fuzhou was taken unopposed, and on the 11th, Sun's commander of Zhejiang, Zhou Fengqi, defected to the NRA. With this came a cascade of defections, and all of Zhejiang rejoined the Nationalists. Alongside the massive number of defectors also came huge sums of abandoned war materials, which the NRA desperately required. The fighting was bitter, and taking Nanchang alone would cost the NRA 20,000 casualties. The Zhejiang Nationalist allies and the NRA forces merged and made a counteroffensive led by Bai Changxi on January the 20th. By the 29th, the offensive reached Yanxi and Jinhua, where Sun received a catastrophic defeat. The NRA and Zhejiang followed this up with a pincer attack against the capital of Hangzhou, leading to many of Sun's troops routing, retreating north and burning and pillaging as they did so. With Sun's forces in disarray, the commander defending the Hangzhou area, Meng Chao Yihui, took 20,000 of his forces and simply abandoned Hangzhou by fleeing on train to Jiangsu province. By February the 23rd, Zhejiang rid itself of Sun's control and was firmly in the hands of the Nationalists. Within 6 months of the campaign, the NRA had expanded across 7 provinces, taking control of over 170 million people, and alongside recruitment and defections had grown from 100,000 troops in 1922 to 700,000 troops in 1927. In the face of the defeats, Sun Chuanfang fled to Nanjing and began to beg for help from his Fengtian allies.
I've fallen, and I can't get up!
Zhang Zuolin responded by reinforcing Sun in Anhui and Jiangsu provinces, while also sending his forces to try and rescue Wu Peifu in Henan. Well, alright, let's go over everything we've now just learnt. The Northern Expedition kicked off with the NRA striking first at Wu Peifu. After neutralizing Wu Peifu, the NRA attacked Sun Chuanfang, forcing him to abandon Nanjing. Now Zhang Zuolin had to come to the rescue, lest China be unified under Chiang Kai-Shek. Really hope you liked this episode, but please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment to let me know what you want to hear about in future episodes. Also, don't forget I have a Patreon account now, where you can find exclusive Patreon episodes and podcasts, as well as other goodies, so please check it out. This has been the Pacific War Channel, over and out.